y'all, it's Vanessa with Farm Girl Gardens and Market. I was in the Dollar Tree the other day and I saw several products that would be a really good use in the garden. Many of us are getting geared up for our fall gardens, and you know that is an expensive time of year. Anytime that you're needing to purchase new materials, seeds, soil, none of that stuff is cheap. So especially in Texas where you pretty much have to build or buy your soil, it adds up. So a couple of the things that I found at the Dollar Tree, and you know, even actually I found a couple at Walmart that are a good deal, and especially this time of year are on clearance, because a lot of people look at the summer as the end of a season, but truly it's the beginning of the fall season. So there's a good opportunity for some money saving tips in the garden, and I wanted to share those with you today. The first thing that I wanted to share with you is actually in the baking section at the Dollar Tree. It's this Cupcake travel container. And what I like about it is that if you are an individual who likes to use the soil blocking method, which is rather than planting into transplant containers, you're just directly planting into a block of soil and then transplanting those blocks into the ground when the weather permits. Soil block makers, it's a press that you fill with soil and it punches out the compacted soil, and it is nifty and worth the money. However, it's not a cheap tool. It's about $50 for a soil block maker, and oftentimes you're only using it once or twice a year. So at that price point, it can be cost prohibitive. And what I like to do instead is to encourage many of my clients to go and pick up one of these containers, put your seed starting medium in here, and directly sow in here. The lid allows this product to be used as a little tiny greenhouse, and it's really effective. I want to show you one that was sown 48 hours ago. I have all of my fall corn and beans sown in here. And what's nice about it is this is about a 12-inch by 12-inch square. I have 120 plants in this 12-inch by 12-inch container. Now, because of the soil depth, this isn't something that you can let them come to maturity in this size, because they will get root bound. But this is an excellent application for getting your seeds sown, making sure that the soil moisture stays consistent when you pop the top on. And actually it's really handy because you can actually use a wax marker to just write whatever is on here on the top of your lid. It'll wash off so you can reuse it for different things in a later season, but it's real convenient to be able to make these, stack them up and move them where you want. So I just wanted to share an alternative use for these Cupcake containers. Another thing that I found, if you do have a soil punch, one of the things that is oftentimes purchased along with those soil block punchers are what's called 10-20 trays. 10-20 trays, they're called 10-20 trays because they're roughly 10 inches by 20 inches long. They're made with a really durable plastic, and so it's an excellent product for farmers to invest in because you can use them year after year. I've had 10-20 trays that have lasted, 8 years. However, they're not cheap because it is made from a really good plastic. You're gonna spend about $30 for a 5-pack. And if you're a hobby gardener or a small scale gardener, that's really just cost prohibitive, especially if you're growing food for the value of the price point of that produce that you're growing. You want to limit how much investment you're putting into materials needed to grow that food. So rather than a 10-20 tray, what I have found at the Dollar Tree is this 13 by 9-inch cookie sheet. Now, this certainly won't win any baking awards for being a product used for baking, but in the garden, to serve as a alternative to those 10-20 trays, this is really just a great piece. Again, it's $1. It's going to last you season after season. Doesn't take up a lot of space, and you can purchase a whole bunch of these for a lot less than what you would spend on just a single 10-20 tray if you were going to go that route. Another thing that I found that I was just so adorable, and keep in mind every Dollar Tree is different. You can go online. Oftentimes you can purchase items online, but you have to buy like the entire shipment. So like if it comes in a case of 36, you would have to buy the 36 to purchase it online. But it might be worth it to you, especially if you are a community garden leader or a teacher and you need a lot of cute plant markers, or you want some activities for your students. I found these really cute little paintable pet rock sculptures. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have my kiddos paint these up. I'm gonna clear coat it with an all-weather UV coating so that it can be out in the garden, be out exposed to the weather and the sun without fading. But this is just an adorable little way to throw some seasonal interest into your garden, and you can even use them as plant markers if you wish. They had a whole bunch of different types. I gravitated towards the ladybug and the turtle, but they had a whole bunch of them. Now, of course, these are only $1, so not cost prohibitive, unless, let's say, you have a large garden, or maybe you are an instructor for a nonprofit or at a school that oftentimes doesn't have the funds to support this type of programming. What you can do is you can actually just go and get rocks out of your garden or yard that are in the shape of a vegetable that you would like to use as a plant label, and then just go ahead and paint them and label them that way. You'll still want to put like a UV clear coat on it so that it can be outside. But you know, I found this little rock, and I had a volunteer who thought that they would help by painting them, and so this one they painted to look like a carrot. This is a bunch of peas. Looking at these just makes me so happy. In all honesty, these will probably stay with me in my greenhouse because they make me happy. But you certainly don't need to go and spend money in order to be able to make some of these markers. You can even buy the paint at the Dollar Tree. So if you're sourcing your rocks for free, you got about $1 invested into the project, and you can really do a lot of fun things with it. Keep the kiddos entertained and have some fun seasonal interest in your garden. Another thing that I wanted to show you at the Dollar Tree, when you are gardening, especially for the first time, if you are a holistically sustained or organically sustained garden, a lot of these treatments are expensive. Diatomaceous earth in the holistic gardening world is often used in place of Sevin dust or insecticides that may not be as bee friendly. And unfortunately, diatomaceous earth is pretty expensive. So one of the things that I have found is that if you have a couple of gardeners that are in your area, go in together on some of these bigger purchases, because especially with these supplements or you know, feed store products that you're picking up, you are buying them in 40-pound lots. And so you don't necessarily need 40 pounds of diatomaceous earth, or if you're a hen keeper, you may not need 40 pounds of black oiled sunflower seeds. But if you can go in with a couple of other people and pick up some of these containers at the Dollar Tree to divvy them out, this becomes a really affordable way to get the best quality product that you can get your hands on with a much lower price point so that it's more sustainable for you. I really like these SureFresh containers with lids because they're great for things that need to be sprinkled out. And also it's just a really good size to be able to divvy up product that you can use seasonally. Another thing kind of the same vein are these spray bottles. Literally the exact same spray bottle at Walmart is gonna set you back $2. It's $1 at Dollar Tree. At Target, it's about $3.22. So I even compared the barcodes, and they're the exact same product made from the same manufacturer. So don't spend your money on the fancy Target water or spray bottles when you can go to the Dollar Tree and spend less. And let's see, what else do we have? Another thing this time of year that is going on clearance in many of the garden centers is, soil amendments, treatments, rooting hormone, and this guy is probably my favorite product. Walmart carries it. I really haven't found a good substitute for it online. If I find one, I'll link it. But what this is expanding soil, and it's compressed coconut coir. So when you are seed sowing, you want to sow your seeds directly into a sterile sowing medium. And that is because if you were to use just regular soil from the garden, for one, it might be a little compact or hard for those new seeds to emerge from, and for two, it certainly won't be sterile. And so during that intense period of keeping the soil saturated and moisture levels consistent, a lot of bad things can grow out of that, and it can either mold your seeds out or introduce things into your garden that you actually don't want. So I always do recommend starting with a sterile medium, but then adding in your good, healthy bacteria by way of worm castings or compost. And so for me, this compressed soil is currently on sale. It's usually $5. It's clearance to $3.50 at my local Walmart. You know, Walmart being such a big chain, I'm sure that it's a similar price in your area. But this brick, it's less than 5 pounds, and it expands to 2 cubic feet. So those big bags of peat moss and even garden soil that you would get at Home Depot or the big box store, they're kind of difficult to work with. I'm going to tell you, even the best quality compost that you're going to get in those bags from those stores are not alive anymore. They've been shipped in a hot metal box down to where you are. They've stayed on the shelf. You're paying for packaging, you're not really paying for the product. And so knowing that those things don't have the soil fertility in them anyway, I just recommend starting off with something sterile like this, especially if you're an apartment dweller. It's easy to get this into your car and into your apartment. And the way that you expand it is you just put it in a big Sterilite tub. You do want to put it in a tub that's big enough because this is going to expand. And then once you hydrate it with warm water, leave it overnight, it'll become this beautiful, friable growing medium for you to grow in. I think I'm going to try and get the camera to turn so I can show you. Do you see that tub right there, that Sterilite tub? That is just one brick of this, completely filled the entire tub. And at $3.50 on clearance, that's the cheapest soil you're going to be able to buy. Another thing that I really like doing is just encouraging you to swap and share seeds. Most seed packets are going to actually come with 100 seeds. If you're a backyard gardener, you probably aren't going to grow an entire cornfield. Maybe you only need 10 or 20 corn plants. This is an opportunity to reach out to your local resources, whether that's a gardening center. Libraries often will have seed libraries where you can share and swap seeds for free, or get on your local social media apps, if it's Facebook, if it's Nextdoor, if it's MeWe, whatever it is, and just put out a call to action. Say, hey, you know, I'm planning on growing these things. I've purchased these seeds and I'll have about this much extra. I'm looking to source these types of seeds. Can we make a trade? And if you want to go a step farther and actually go ahead and plant the seeds and get them to transplant stage, you can actually earn your money back by sowing the transplants that are an abundance of what you would need to other hobby gardeners who perhaps don't have the time or the inclination to start their own transplants from seed, but want to support local agriculture. They want a good product, and you can offer them a price point which is better than the store, and they will actually buy those transplants from you and allow you to be able to put more money back into expanding your own grow space. So I hope that those are some tips that are helpful to you. This time of year, we are looking at the calendar to figure out when the frost date is. In our area, that is looking at November 6th. And so what I always recommend that you do is that you look up the frost date in your area, and then you figure out the amount of days between now and then. Whatever that timeline is your window of what you can plant before it's going to freeze and no longer be a correct temperature for that plant. So for me, I'm now looking at a November 6th date. That puts me in the 78-day window. I am only going to be sowing seeds that will come into maturity between 50 and 60 days so that I can get a couple of weeks harvest off those plants. If you select a variety that's needs a longer maturity date than whatever your current window is, what's going to happen is you're going to put all of this energy, resource, and time into a plant that will come just into maturity the second the freeze hits and kills it all. So be mindful of your zone, your frost date, and how many days you have until that date. And then always, always, always look at the back of your seed envelope to see what the day to maturity date is. And every seed envelope is going to have some basic information, some better than others. I really love MI Gardener's content and information on their seed packet. They actually put on there, you know, not only the spacing and how many per row, but the maturity date right there. So for this zucchini squash, it's going to take 100 to 110 days to come into maturity. I don't have that much time. This is not a variety that I'm going to grow from seed. At this point, I'm either gonna go and swap for some already established transplants, or I'm gonna purchase transplants in the store. But at this point in time in my area, which is anywhere from 7B to 8A, because it's Texas and the weather can be crazy, this variety is just not one that I'm gonna go ahead and get started from seed, because I have already missed my window and I don't wanna put all my time and money into something that is just not gonna be able to be productive for me when I can put it into something like a watermelon radish, which will come into maturity in about 20 days. I'll get multiple harvests off of it, and I will multiple harvests from succession sowing. And I'll really be able to get the most bang for my buck. So I hope that those tips have been helpful. I hope that you are just having a blast mapping out what your fall garden will be. And I look forward to seeing what you're up to and what you're growing. Until then, see you next time.